Hello, good evening, and welcome. So, this being a live show, be prepared for maybe some barking dogs, and we might get photobombed by a cat, but that's the beauty of being live. Get your questions ready because tonight we're going to be talking about change your beliefs and change your reality. So, this topic I think is probably one of the ones that I am most passionate about because changing your life is based on your beliefs, what you believe to be true. So, some people will say, when I talk about your beliefs, they will say to me, well, that's not a belief, that's true. That's not a belief, that's a fact. Okay, all right, well, that is true for you. That is a fact for you. If a person believes things like it's hard to get a break, I'm not educated, it's hard to start a business, at my age, it's difficult to start all over again, I'm too old to change is hard, I always get screwed. Well, you're right. You're right. Those are facts for you. But the question then is, why is that true for you? What is it that creates that reality for you? You know, in some ways, it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the proof come first or did the belief come first? And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Where did these beliefs come from? And is this what you want to be true? You may have a belief like it's hard to succeed, or whatever your belief is. And I can't even tell you how many times I've heard people say, well, you know, ever since I was a kid, this has been true. Or, you know, when I was little. Well, that right there is part of the problem. Because in the first 7 years of life, the brain is in these theta brainwaves, these slow, hypnotic brainwaves. And as a child, you are literally absorbing everything around you with no critical thinking to whether it's true or not. You just accepted it. So if your parents struggled with money, or if you saw relationship problems between your parents or other family members, it's very easy for that child to come to the conclusion that, you know, money is a struggle, or women are difficult, or men are difficult, whatever, relationships are hard, or how about our trust issues, that maybe you can't trust people, and maybe this is something that has gone on your entire life. Okay, so what is the mechanism that is causing that to be true for you? Because I'm sure you'd probably agree that if you had a magic wand and you could, boom, change your reality, you would. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, because your reality is based off of your beliefs. Okay, so why is that true? Well, your brain trusts you, for one. So if you tell yourself something, or if something is what you believe, your brain is going to give you evidence that that is true. The human brain takes in approximately 11 million bits of data per second. And this is something that I'm going to repeat several times, because if anybody's running late, this is a crucial piece of information. The human brain takes in approximately 11 million bits of data per second. There are actually some people that say it's up as much as 22 million. Your unconscious mind can only filter approximately 40,000 bits of data per second. And then consciously, you're only aware of about 40. So we have this massive funnel of 11 million down to 40,000, down to 40 bits of information. So then my question is, how does your brain choose which 40,000 bits of information out of 11 million to pick? Well, it's based off of your beliefs. We also call this mechanism confirmation bias. We've heard this term a lot in religious contexts, you know, confirmation bias. Confirmation bias means that your brain's job is to prove you right. So if you believe something like life is hard, things always fall through, I always get screwed, your brain literally takes that information and says, I trust you, here's the proof. I trust you, here's the proof. And what happens after 5 years, 10 years, your entire lifetime of being programmed with a belief like that? Now you have 40 years of evidence. So it doesn't feel like a belief anymore. It feels like reality. It feels like the truth. It feels like fact. But your brain cherry-picked 40,000 bits of information to prove you right. Okay, it also discarded 10,960,000 bits of data per second. What information was possibly in that other data that you didn't even pay attention to? Now, that is a very profound thing to think about because it literally means that we've been given evidence without even realizing it. And we've ignored evidence. Not even just ignored it. We never even knew that evidence was there. So let me give you some examples here. I was at the airport once, and I was at a restaurant. You know, everybody's tired. The lines are kind of long, and we were in this particularly kind of longish line, and there was a guy standing in line, and he was very kind of Eeyore kind of attitude, you know, just kind of attitude. You could see it. You could see his energy on him. And so then the lady at the airport restaurant there, she tells everybody to just move the line this way. And so we're all like, okay, we'll just move the line this way. This one particular man goes, and he turns around and he walks away. So what was going on in this guy's mind? Well, I can almost guarantee that he was somebody with low self-esteem, probably somebody who thinks, I always get screwed, I always get left out, I always get ignored. And the rest of us were just like, okay, let's just move the line. This guy's mind went, oh, there it is again. I'm just getting kicked out all over again. And he just walks away dejected with more proof that he's a reject. His brain proved it for him. You know what? And the interesting thing is that as the observer looking on the outside, I actually kind of wanted to run up to the guy and go, hey, no, wait, that's not what happened. We're not excluding you. But his brain was giving him information to prove him right. This happens constantly. This is constantly happening to us. You know, actually, I had somebody reach out to me recently from this channel and wanted to talk to me. So she had told me a little bit about, you know, her life. It's difficult, never gets a break, no, you know, all kinds of things that she wanted to work on. So she reached out to me. I talked to her back. I texted her back. And then I actually had a small accident, and I ended up having to go to the emergency room. It was not a huge big deal, but just, you know, there's also a 13-hour time difference. I didn't want to text her at 2 o'clock in the morning. So actually it was like 2 days before I got back to her. And she says, am I being ghosted? Am I being ghosted? And then I get an email saying, well, this is what I expect from people like you. And then my karma is going to get me back. And I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a second. That is not what's going on here. But why did she respond that way? Why does anybody respond that way? It's because their brain is cherry-picking information that's proving their current beliefs right. And do you see how that can really suck? Do you see how we can discard evidence? Do you see how we can misinterpret facts because we're looking for proof that we're right? That's what your brain's job is to do. Maybe that's happened to you before. You know, maybe you've said something innocently to somebody and they just like totally respond weird and you're like, what, no, what, huh? But in their mind, this is what happened, and this is what went down, and this is what you said, and this is what you meant. How is that possible? It's because they're picking 40,000 bits of information out of 11 million, and they're discarding everything else. Their brain isn't having the ability. They haven't learned to say, okay, I'm a terrible person, everyone hates me, or maybe that person didn't respond because they just had an accident and they're in the emergency room, or, you know, maybe that person's busy. We're constantly interpreting things according to our beliefs, and then we believe this thing to be true. You know, maybe we have husbands out there, and maybe your wife has said, you don't love me. And so what does the husband do? The husband does 99 beautiful, loving things. And the one time he leaves the towel on the bathroom floor, she's like, see, you don't love me. You don't love me. Okay, it's not that she's being a jerk. It's that her brain is sorting for proof that you don't love her. It's not that you're not doing the things right, and it's easy for us to get frustrated because we're like, no, look at all these other things that I'm doing. Look at everything else that I did. But this is what your brain is doing constantly. It's proving you right. So now the question is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Do you want to be right or do you want to be successful? Do you want to be healthy? You see, we have to question every single thing that you believe to be a fact. Because the truth is, what is a fact for you is not necessarily a fact for somebody else. Your reality that life is hard, that aging sucks, that your eyesight gets worse after 40, that your metabolism slows down as you get older, that it's hard to change. You know what? Does everybody have those beliefs? Because you know what? I guarantee that person over there, their life is very different. And it's because they do not hold the same beliefs that you do. Therefore, their brain is not sorting for the same information that your brain is sorting for. What would happen if instead of those 40,000 bits of information that prove that you suck, what if you looked at the other 10,960,000 bits of data? What would you see? Maybe you would see people that love you. Maybe you would see proof of your success. Maybe you would see, who knows what you would see because you've never seen it. Because you've literally been throwing away that information, not on purpose, but because you've never been taught the power of what you believe and how your brain is cherry picking you information to prove you right. Now, even in the political environment that we're in, it's very easy to be caught up in fear, in conspiracy theories. Well, and then our brain starts cherry picking all of this information. See, we're headed towards disaster. Look. And you're right, because your brain is proving you right. So again, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Now, this is not about putting your head in the sand. This is not about ignoring things. This is actually about expanding your vision so that you can see everything and then make informed choices. This is about choosing beliefs that empower you so that even if disaster strikes, you're strong, you're educated, you have good self-esteem, you have confidence, all of those things which actually allow you to navigate divorce, disaster, business failures. It allows you to do all of that better. So let's go over some other examples I had a client once. This is how our brain works. I want to keep hounding this a little bit because I think this is really important for you to understand. I had a client once, and he was so excited because he had just got a brand new canary yellow Jeep. And he was all kind of disappointed because he's like, I thought this was going to be so unique. And he says, now that I have this yellow Jeep, I see yellow Jeeps everywhere. And I was like, really? I never see yellow Jeeps anywhere until I drove home. And then guess what I see? Like 3 yellow Jeeps. I'm like, how did I not see those before? It's because my brain wasn't sorting for that before. You see, the same way that we're sorting for the evidence that proves us right, we're also discarding things that could be beautiful right in front of us. For example, there was a social experiment that was done where these students, they set up this table on a corner and they had free money. They literally had, I don't remember how much it was, $500, $1,000, whatever. It was in this jar with this big sign that said free money. Now, how many people do you think took the money? No one. Why? Here's free money right in front of them, no strings attached. And they didn't even question it. They just walked by. So what beliefs were going on in their mind? Probably things like, well, this is too good to be true. There's a catch. There's always a catch. Well, good things don't happen to people like this. This just doesn't happen. And as long as they were thinking that, they walked by $1,000 and they didn't even question it. How many opportunities have you missed because your brain was trying to prove that you're right, that things are difficult, that things are hard? And now here you are with 40 or 50 years of fact. But how much did you throw away? Okay? This is, so now I'm going to give you a personal example of mine. When my life blew up, I was about 38 years old, and I, at that time, had more limiting beliefs than you could possibly imagine. I was recently coming out of a lifetime of being in a cult. And one of the worst beliefs that I had was you can't trust anybody outside the religion, that everybody in the world is going to be out to get you. Everybody's out to screw you. The advantage that I had was being the life coach, understanding these principles that, okay, if I believe this, it is going to be true. And I don't want that to be true. I don't want a life of everybody screwing me over. I don't want a life of everything sucks and I can't trust people. So I decided to go through a very specific NLP process to change that belief, and I changed it to, I can trust people. People are good. People want to help. In their core, people are good people. So this is, since we're on this manifesting channel, I'm going to talk about what that helped me manifest, what it allowed my brain to sort for. So this one particular day, I was sitting in my car in a parking lot. I was in a really bad situation. I didn't have any place to live. I didn't have a job. I was just barely starting all over again. I was in this custody battle, cross-country custody battle. It was a total disaster. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm crying. And this lady knocks on the door, on the window. She locks on the window. She goes, "Sweetie, are you okay?" And I'm crying, and I kind of start telling her everything. And she literally says, let me take you to coffee. Let's go to McDonald's and I'll take you for coffee. So we go sit down and I start telling her about the situation that I'm in, how I'm in this cross-country custody battle, and how I've been excommunicated and I have zero support system, all this other kind of stuff, and how difficult it is actually to have a job even, because I'm going back and forth 2,000 miles from Florida to Colorado, and how do you keep a job when you have to travel every 3 weeks? It was terribly difficult situation. And she looks at me and she says, "How are you going to get your kids back, honey, if you don't have a house?" And I go, I don't know, but I don't have the money for deposits. And I'm crying. And she says, this is a total stranger. She says, "Let me call my neighbor." She says his mother died about 4 years ago, and it's a fully furnished house. He just shut the door when she died, and so there's this fully furnished empty house right next to me. So sitting right there in McDonald's, she calls her neighbor and she says, "I've got this young lady here. She's in a real bad situation." And this total stranger says, "Give her the keys to my house." So she gives me the keys to the house. It was a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, fully furnished house that this total stranger, who knew this other total stranger, just gave me the keys to. I stayed there for almost a year, and I never met the actual owner until about a month before I moved out. The hot water heater went out, and he came to change the hot water heater. He's a super cute older guy. He's about 76 years old, and kind of like a grandpa figure. Super nice guy. Okay, so what happened? Let's dissect that first of all. So, excuse me, had I been sitting in the car thinking to myself, people suck, everyone's out to get me, I'm totally screwed, think about what kind of energy I might have been radiating. Think about what my face might have looked like. Had I been sitting in that zone, maybe that old lady wouldn't have even knocked on my window at all. If she would have, maybe I would have said, "Go away, what are you begging for money? Go away, leave me alone." My brain would not have allowed me to see kindness. My brain would not have allowed me to see goodness in another human being. I manifested that. But how did I manifest that? It's because I chose consciously chose to believe in the good of people. You know, I have other stories about that too, but I think that's one of the most powerful ones because that is the power of our beliefs. You change your belief and you change your reality. Now, all too often, we hesitate to change our belief because those beliefs have protected us. Those beliefs, maybe they've protected us from disappointment. Maybe they protected us from being hurt or being lost. So they did serve a good point. But at what point do we decide, okay, I choose something else because being safe is also costing me something. It's costing me a good life. It's costing me opportunities. You know, a lot of these beliefs too, like I mentioned earlier, they were formed in our infancy. They were formed in our childhood, and they served a child. But do they serve a 45, 50-year-old man? Do they serve a 50-year-old woman who's empowered and intelligent and smart? Do they serve us? No, not now. So it's time to upgrade some of those things because many of our beliefs are based off of childhood experiences, based off of our parents who had their trauma, who had no idea about psychology, who had never read a self-help book. They came from generations of trauma that they gave us those traumatic beliefs. And here we are sitting here going, why am I not more successful? Well, this is why. Because we've inherited a blueprint that it is our responsibility to update, or else we're going to continue repeating the pattern. You see, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, why do we do the same things over and over again? Isn't it because we're thinking the same things over and over again? Isn't it because we're believing and feeling the same things over and over again? Those beliefs and those thoughts are what lead to the same actions, which is insane. So if we want to create our reality, if we want to be the architecture, if we want to create this new architecture, if you want to be the architect of your reality, you start with the blueprint, which is in your head, which is your beliefs. So as I said, a lot of people, they want the facts before they change the beliefs, and that's not how it works. When I manifested that wonderful woman and her wonderful friend who gave me a house, I could not wait for the facts first. If you wait for the facts first, they will not come because your brain is giving you the 40,000 bits of information that prove you right with your current beliefs. You have to change the beliefs first. You change the beliefs first, and then your brain literally goes, okay, here's a different 40,000 bits of information. This is not the same information that you were getting last week. This is now completely different data that you didn't have before. Okay, so I know this can be difficult for some people, but it's crucial for you to understand that the psychology behind this is that your brain is proving you right. If you want different proof, you have to change the belief first. You cannot wait for the proof. You have to change the belief, and then the proof follows you there. So I'm going to tell you another story. This is a good example of how you can see different things in the exact same situation. I live here in Ecuador. On my road, there are a couple of other foreigners that live here, a couple from Texas, a couple from California. And expats, foreigners, tend to have beliefs along the lines of being outsiders, that everybody thinks we have money, so everybody's going to take advantage of us. They don't quite always assimilate into the local culture. So I had these people over, and they were talking about this neighbor, and they were talking about what a jerk this neighbor is, how he's difficult, and how he's rude, and how he just all these things about how awful this neighbor was. And I go, wait a second, which neighbor is this again? Well, it happens to be my neighbor that borders my land behind me. And I'm like blown away because I think this guy is the nicest neighbor ever. Him and his wife are the kindest people. They have every right in the universe to probably sue me, actually. My goats are constantly trespassing over on their yard, and he'll call me and he'll be like, hey, neighbor, your goats are over here stomping my grass and destroying shit again. I'm like, oh, so I go running over there, and I've given him milk, and he's given me eggs, and we had a fire disaster a couple years ago, and he called me right away and he says, hey, if you need to get your animals out, you cut that fence, you get over on my property. And I said, I agree, the same. If your side of the property is bad, get your animals over here to the river. Don't worry about the fence. Let's just keep each other safe. I think this guy's the nicest neighbor in the universe. So then the question is he an asshole or is he a great guy? Well, the truth is he's probably both. The truth is he's both. We give people a mirror to reflect something back in. And if you believe that people are beautiful, they will reflect beauty back to you. Now, that's a 99% rule. There are difficult people out there. There are people that are rotten. But for the most part, humans are just humans, and they will reflect to you what you are asking them to reflect. It's just like the husband and the wife. The husband does 99 things that are right, and the one thing that he does wrong is the thing that the wife picks on, not because she's a jerk, but because that's what her brain is sorting for. So, here I have these foreigners, and they're sorting for, we don't fit in, we're the outsiders, people don't like us, people are taking advantage of us. And that's exactly what they see. Except I'm looking at the same people, and I see something completely different. You see, our beliefs are creating that reality. Now, this is a slightly different example, but it's also a great example of how our energy can change things around us. I tend to stick to the more scientific side, but the truth is we're a lot more complicated than that. So I was going into the Department of Motor Vehicles here in Ecuador, and the Department of Motor Vehicles is no better here than it is anywhere else. It's a hellhole of yuck. And I needed this report because I was selling a car. Well, the challenge was my ID was expired. So I'm actually kind of, hi Jay, I'm actually kind of, asking them to do something with no ID. So I'm standing there in line, and I see this guy at this horrible cubicle. He looks absolutely miserable. He's probably in his 40s, just looking absolutely horrible, like he hates the universe and hates the world. And I kept thinking, oh my goodness, I hope I don't get this guy. Oh my goodness, I hope I don't get this guy. And I got that guy. So I'm like, okay, I need this report. He's like, give me your ID. I give him my ID, and he just explodes. He's like, oh, I can't do this, and you're, and I was just sitting there, and I was just thinking, I didn't say any of this out loud, but I was thinking, this guy's life probably sucks. He's in a minimum wage job. He's making $2.50 an hour in this hellhole cubicle. He probably lives in a hellhole. He probably has wife and kids and expenses, and this is the worst job in the universe. And I was literally just there thinking that. I didn't say anything. I didn't argue. He's just ranting about my ID that's not valid. And I just said, he's like, he slams it down and goes, there's nothing I could do about this. It's, blah. And I just went, it's okay. It's okay. I get it. I understand. I know. I literally felt so much empathy for him, and I said, I know, I'll figure out what to do. I don't know what to do, but I'll figure it out. And I got up to go, and he grabbed my ID again, and he looked at me, and he said, I'm going to do this for you. He says, I'm going to do it for you this one time. He says, but don't ever do this again. Go get your ID renewed. He says, don't ever do this again. He says, but I'm going to do it for you. And he gives me that report. Now, I also consider that manifesting. I also believe that when you don't even have to say anything out loud, I chose to have empathy for that guy. And, I was legit having empathy for that guy. He probably gets yelled at all the time. It's probably a horrible, horrible, horrible job to have. He responded to that. He reflected what I truly believe that humanity has within them. And it's not even something that we're consciously having to do. Once you have installed these programs, all of a sudden your world starts changing People start behaving differently around you. This Department of Motor Vehicles experience, what would that have looked like if I'd have thought he was an asshole? If I'd have thought, God, people are always jerks, no one wants to help me. Can you see how that would have gone a lot differently? So this is the power of beliefs. Okay, so I'm going to start looking at comments here because I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what your opinions are of things that you've been listening to. Okay, so Jay says, I know Jay. Jay and I go way back. So you've been listening for a while, and there's some things that you don't understand. Give me an example because I want to explain it right here. Because if there's something that you don't understand, it's probably a pretty good chance that other people don't too. So help me out, Jay. Don't leave me hanging out to dry here. What specifically is something that's challenging for you to think about, to wrap your head around? I'm putting you on the spot because I'm on the spot. Come on, Jay. Or anybody else. I want some feedback here. I want to know what your outlooks are on this power of belief or changing your beliefs. Okay, so while I'm waiting for somebody to pipe in for a second, let's start talking about, oh, there you go. Okay, that's not your point that you were going to say. Okay. So just as a side note too, I know that there's a lot of people on here. In the last 3 weeks, I think I've had about 2,000 new subscribers. So there's a lot of people here that don't really know my background and they don't really know where I came from. So today I recorded the new version of my life story and how I restructured everything. Some of the limiting beliefs that I had coming out of 38 years in a cult was, as a woman, it's difficult for a woman to make it in a man's world. Like I said, everybody in the world is out to get you. Life is hard. It's too late to start from scratch. It's too late to start all over again. Hold on one second. I have no education. How am I gonna, I don't know anybody. I had so many limiting beliefs. Hold on. I have rebellious dogs here. Okay, this is what I was talking about earlier about getting photobombed. Come here, guys, say hi. Can you say hi? Oh, shit. Okay, okay. 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 Let me wipe the slobber off my face here. Okay, so Jay, you feel like I know what I know and I can't change that. I know what I know and I can't change that. That in itself is a limiting belief, my dear. You got out of a cult. There's a lot of stuff that you've already changed. Do you believe in the cult anymore? No, you don't. That is proof right there, my dear, that you absolutely can change. Because you left an entire religion. You left everything that you believed in. Isn't that the biggest proof possible? I know, my dogs are nuts, huh? Isn't that the biggest proof possible that you can change your beliefs? You see, when I got out of the cult, I was born into this religion and 5 generations. So all of these crazy beliefs, I never even questioned. Talk about the programming coming from infancy. I mean, we're talking about my programming was from like the womb, right? And I never questioned it. When I left at 38 and I realized, oh my God, I grew up in a cult, it shocked me. It really, really shocked me. Like, how could I spend my entire life believing this? And it's freaking a lie, right? It's freaking a lie. Well, it immediately caused me to say, if all of these religious things that I believed with my whole heart are a lie, what else is a lie? What else am I believing that's a lie? And I literally started questioning everything. I literally started questioning everything. I don't know, is the earth round? I don't freaking know, because everything I believed was a lie. Is the earth flat? I don't know. Does the earth go around the sun? I don't freaking know, because literally everything in my head was handed to me. So maybe I better question everything. And that is the key. Jay, I want you to write this down. Question, question, question the beliefs in your mind. How did you wake up from a religion? You started to doubt. You started to question. You started to say, really? Really? You see, here's what happens. There's a process that the brain goes through to change a belief. So you have this belief, life sucks. That's your belief. Okay, and yeah, you have all the evidence for that belief. You cannot go from the belief to facts. I cannot say, no, this is look at this, and look at this, and look at this, because your brain will just go ping, ping, ping. It will literally ping pong all the evidence out of your mind, okay? Just like I gave the example of, the husband that does 99 things right and the wife only sees the one thing. Confirmation bias will keep you from searching for the proof. So here's what you have to do in order to change a belief. Now, when I'm coaching somebody, I can walk them through a belief change in less than 30 minutes. Any belief that you have, I can change it in a coaching session in less than 30 minutes. And these are the steps that it take. I want you to think about when you changed your beliefs about the religion, for example. You believed that this is true. And then the very next stage, the first stage that you went into, was a stage of questioning. You didn't have facts yet. You just started going, huh? Really? I don't know. It's a softening of the firewall of the brain. You cannot change a belief unless you relax on purpose those defenses. Now, the brain goes through this process by itself, because we do update beliefs on its own. But when you leave it up to chance, we can go through these 4 steps and take 10 years. I don't want to take 10 years. Jay, you just said that. You want to hurry up and do it. Okay, so this is how you do it. You take a belief that life sucks. Let's take life sucks. Okay. Well, let's take my example, okay? So let's take my example that you can't trust anybody, that the world is out to get you. So the first thing that I have to do is I have to close my eyes. I have to go, okay, wait a second. I am going to logically admit that this is confirmation bias. Forget about all my proof. I'm going to logically say, I have proof of this because my brain cherry-picked the proof. So let me enter into a state of questioning. Let me start to question that belief. Everybody sucks? Like, there's billions of people in the world, like every single one of them sucks? 100% of the time? They're all out to get me? Wait, does everybody believe that? What do other people believe? That guy over there looks pretty happy. That person over there is pretty lucky. Do they believe that everybody in the world sucks? Well, okay, here's another one. Now I'm in the world. Do I suck? Am I out to get everybody? Really? Who told me this? Okay, you see, as we start asking ourselves these questions, your brain goes into a different mode. Your brain shifts into a different gear that goes, oh, wait a second. She's not telling me people suck. She's telling me to start sorting for new information. And then your unconscious mind starts churning, and it starts churning, and it starts going, okay, wait a second. Whoa, wait a second. Do we have evidence of people that didn't suck? Well, maybe we did have evidence of people that didn't suck. Maybe there was that one person that one time in the hospital that was really, really nice. Or you know what, maybe there was this one time that I saw this and those people didn't suck. Or how about that time where I saw people donating clothes at a homeless shelter? Well, those people didn't suck. And see, then the brain starts allowing itself to gather the contra evidence, the opposite evidence. But you cannot accept this opposite evidence unless you soften your thoughts and you start going, oh, wait a second. Hold on a minute. Really? How long have I believed this? And if the answer is automatically, I've believed this since childhood, then you automatically, that goes in your proof file. If I've believed this from childhood, then it automatically, here's the evidence to the contrary. Do I know all 80 bajillion humans alive? How can I make this blanket statement? And here's another question. What if I didn't choose to believe this? What if I chose to believe something different? What would my life look like? Okay, so you see what this is doing to your brain. Your brain loves to learn. Your brain doesn't want to hurt you with these beliefs. It wants to be upgraded. And so maybe we even journal just a little bit, we start writing things down and we're like, okay, wait a second. Oh, wow. Actually, you know what? There is some evidence to the contrary. And so then the next phase goes, okay, so we take the proof, our new proof, and we kind of start comparing it to the old proof. And then all of a sudden we start realizing that, wait, we did cherry pick this. And which belief would be better? Then we install a temporary belief. We install a temporary belief where we go, okay, I'm not going to throw away the belief that people suck completely. I'm going to trial run this belief that people are good for the next 48 hours and see what happens. And you start playing with it a little bit. And then all of a sudden you start realizing, wait a second, I see a whole lot of stuff that I didn't see before, okay? Hold on, I'm reading a comment here really quick. Come here. Come here, Victor. Come here. Hold on just one second. I'll be right back. Okay. I have some dogs that are telling me that it's dinner time and I'm not feeding them yet because I'm not ready. I'm still talking. Okay, so where was I? Come here with me. What? I know. I have 3 of these monsters. I have 3 monsters. Okay, can you get down? Get down. I'll feed you later. Get down. Bye, mommy. Okay, so give me some more questions. Give me some more questions here, guys. What else? Give me some other one. I know they're totally like, it's dark, feed us, or we're going to eat something, your laundry, which is what I had to go rescue just now. Okay, Jay-Z says, it feels like you're with me, but you feel like there's a missing 10%. Okay, so we have another comment here. You've heard a lot of beliefs on how to change it, but nobody says actually how. I love these dogs. They're the best. They're kind of beasts. Between the 3 of them, there's like 360 pounds of dogs, so it's like 3 against 1 constantly. Okay, so the next comment here is you're trying to get your left-right brain to accept it. Yes, that is exactly what we're doing. Because far too often, we're dealing with the logic, and you cannot logic your way out unless you're accessing the emotional state that allows you to absorb the logical information. Too often, we're powering through it with left brain function only, and that does not work. That does not work. I've talked before about the power of emotion And in this case, the emotion that we need to change the belief is curiosity. The emotion that we need to feel is curiosity. So I know that there's a bunch of people here in my audience that have the religious background that I did too. Or maybe we could take like political or whatever, when you are trying to convince somebody to follow your beliefs, like if you've left the religion and you're trying to convince somebody to wake up and get out because here's all the proof, what happens? They dig their heels in. There is no way, they're in defense energy. So when we're talking about belief change, when somebody is in defense mechanism, they will never change their mind because they are not accessing the right emotion to change their mind. Curiosity is what they need. Curiosity is what you need. So how many times have I talked to a client and they'll dig their heels in. They'll say, no, this is true because this person screwed me over and my husband cheated on me and I got ripped off here and look. Yeah, I'm not getting anywhere with that person because they're in defense mode. They're in defending their beliefs mode. And so often, the reason you are not changing your beliefs is because you're defending your beliefs. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to pick a belief that you've struggled to change. Think about a belief. Pick one. Sit there, right there listening to me, and I want you to think about a belief that you struggle to change. Okay? And I want you to think about why you're so attached to that belief. I want you to think about all the stories that you're telling yourself of why this is true. And I want you to notice that energy of defensiveness, of proving yourself right. You will never change your belief as long as you are defending that belief. Now, this is the hard part. You really have to get to this place. And I think this is actually what skyrocketed my transformation is my freaking life blew up. All of my beliefs got blown up with a nuclear bomb. Not even not even by me. I wasn't even trying to blow them up. Like the universe blew up my life for me, okay? And so I'm sitting here going, what the hell? What do I believe? What the hell? What do you mean that's not true? And it was all right there in front of me. So I'm sitting here with all of these beliefs that were destroyed in my brain. And guess what? I couldn't defend them because they'd been destroyed. So the beliefs that were left, I now forced myself to question because I was in this curious, like, what the hell? What do I believe now? How could I have believed that? How could that have been true? Oh my gosh, I can see, you see how I was not in defense mode. You see, my entire life at that point was, oh my goodness, it was a blank sponge again. A blank sponge to say, okay, this is an opportunity to recreate everything because everything just got blown up. Now I have nothing. Now I get to cherry pick what I want to recreate my life with. Okay? Curiosity. So I want you to think about the belief. I want you to think about your own belief that you've struggled with. And I want you to notice that you're in defense mode about it. I want you to notice that you're defending it. So do you want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? Do you want to be right? Or do you want to be healthy? Because here's the other thing too. Sometimes being right makes us sick. Sometimes being right makes us angry, and it makes us bitter, and it makes us sick. It makes us victims. So do you want to be right, or do you want to be sick? You know, if thriving means that I have to choose to look at my entire life a different way, then that's freaking what I'm going to do. Because I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be stuck. If that means that every belief in my life has to flip to the exact opposite, then that's what I'm going to do. You know, if I got to that point in life by believing that women weren't as good as men, Well, then you know what? I am damn sure going to switch that to say women are powerful. Because that old belief created my old life, and I cannot have this new life unless I change what I believe. You know, money is the root of all evil. Love of money is the root of all evil. Well, you know what? That got me 38 years of shit. So I'm going to choose to question that, because even though I have all this evidence that proves it's true, I know the psychology that says the only reason I believe that to be true is because my brain took 40,000 bits of information out of 11 million. So I'm going to go back to the beginning in case, because I've got more people here that were here in the beginning. Our beliefs create our reality, because reality is different for everyone. So when you say, a lot of times I'm coaching somebody, they'll say, well, that's not a belief, that's true. That's not a belief, that's a fact. Well, why is it true? Why is it true? It's because your brain is receiving 11 million bits of data per second. And there are some people that say it's as much as 22 million bits of data per second. And your brain can only filter 40,000 bits of data per second. That means you are throwing away 10,960,000 bits of information per second. So what did you not see? What did you throw away? Because you're proving yourself right. So when you believe that life is hard, or it's difficult to make money, or you can't trust anyone, and you've believed that since childhood, your brain is cherry picking 40,000 bits of information out of 11 million to prove you right. Do you see the power that we're missing there? This is why if you don't question your beliefs for any other reason, question it for that reason alone. There are 10,960,000 bits of information per second that you ignored. Is there a possibility that maybe that's not true? Is there a possibility that maybe there's another way to look at things? Because I tell you, people will say things, and then when I question that, they're like surprised that the whole world doesn't believe that. Well, no, the whole world doesn't believe that. You know, successful people, do they believe that? What programs are in their mind that allow them to get an extra 40,000 bits of information that you're not seeing? Do you see the power of this here? Okay, and then going back to the changing of it. If you want to change it, you have to put your unconscious mind in accept mode, in receiving mode. And the way you do that is by creating curiosity, okay? You have to be in a state of, really? I like making that face, because when you make that face, it literally helps your brain adapt itself to that state of curiosity. So it's impossible to make money with no education. It's impossible. Really? Really? Does everybody believe that? Says everyone? How long have I believed that? Oh, since I was 3? Oh, because a 3-year-old knows everything? Because my parents knew everything? You just notice that questioning. That's the emotion that I want you to have, because that's the emotion that you have to have in order for your brain to go, oh shit, maybe that's not right after all, okay? And then we can start going into the collecting the evidence, okay? Maybe you need to Google people who made $1 million after 50. Maybe you need to start collecting evidence. You know, who do you know who believes something different? Well, if you don't know anybody, Google somebody, because everything's out there on Google, okay? Think about that for a second. You have the power to choose any belief that you want. Any belief that you want. When I'm coaching people, there's all kinds of beliefs. Sometimes I will have somebody say, I can eat a gallon of ice cream and 10 hamburgers and not gain an ounce. Okay, good. Well, you keep that belief. That's great. That's a fantastic belief. And somebody else will say, all I have to do is look at ice cream and I gain weight. Well, let's change that one. Let's change that one, because that one sucks. That one's not so great. Okay? You know, I will hear successful people, successful business people will often say, I can make it rain money. I can pull money out of anything. And guess what 40,000 bits of information their brain is going to pick for them? I bet you their brain takes the $1,000 of free cash out of the jar. I bet you it does. Okay, so we're coming up on an hour here. Does anybody have any questions for me? Come on, this is your last chance. We're going to go another 5 minutes. Anybody want to come live? Here, hold on just one second. Let me give you a link. Because as long as my dogs aren't eating each other, I can keep going here. So if anybody wants to come on live, no, wait, that's the wrong link. X that one. X that link, hold on. Let me copy this other link. Okay, you see that Riverside link? If anybody wants to pop up here and do a live belief change session, let's do it. Who's bold? Who's brave? Let's do this, guys. Do I have a volunteer? Come on, this is your chance. This is your chance. You don't even have to put the camera on if you don't want to. Anybody? Come on, let's take one. All right, how about this? Type one in the chat. Give me something that you struggle to reprogram. Give me a belief that you struggle to reprogram and type it in the chat. Give me something, guys. Come on. Give me a belief that you would love to change. Give me something that you struggled with. And let's change it right here. Come on, I'm going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you click on the Riverside link, hun? Click on the link that says riverside.com. Ooh, let's go with this one. Even if you do make money, someone else will take it from you. Damn. Okay. This is a common one. A lot of people have this one. Okay, so even if you do make money, someone else will take it from you. All right, my friend. Really? Really? Let's think about this for a second. So I want you to take a nice deep breath. And I want you to recognize, logically, the truth is, you've probably had this belief for a long time, right? Did your dad believe that? You know, did your mom believe that? Who told you that? I want you to start thinking about that. Who told you that? And then I want you to start, just kind of let your mind soften for just a second. Really? Everyone that makes money, someone will take it from them? My love, how does somebody take it from you? All of it? Like all of it? If you make $1 million, somebody's going to take all of it? Don't you have some power there too? Don't you have some ability to choose? If you give it away, now if you give it away, that's a different thing. But how is somebody going to take it from you? Are they going to hack your bank account? Are they going to steal your ATM pin? Someone who? A total stranger? Is a total stranger going to steal it from you? Is going to take it from you? Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your family. All of your family? Like every single one of them? Every single one of your family members is going to take everything that you make? Think about that for a second. Does it Does that really make sense? Well, then how does anybody have anything? How does anybody have money if as soon as you have money, somebody takes it? Okay, well, what about this? Well, what if you just get more money? You know, somehow you're able to increase your ceiling of the money that you're able to make. Well, maybe you just get more money. Or maybe part of the problem is that you don't have boundaries. If a person had boundaries where they say, no, no, I'm not going to do this, what would stop people from taking the money that you make? Think about that. Why? What would cause that? Well, maybe they can't say no. Maybe they're not good with money. Maybe there's a lot of reasons that could add to that, right? So how could we prevent that? How could we make that not so? What could we do to make sure that if you have money, you either choose to give it away when it's appropriate or you choose to keep it? How do we make sure that we're not giving somebody else the power? Now, I want you to think about this because I guarantee you that even if people who make money, they have money. How does that happen? How do they get to keep it? Well, maybe it's because maybe they didn't say anything. Maybe they limit their generous contributions. So I want you to think about that for a second. If you think about that for a minute, start to notice that maybe that belief doesn't make as much sense as it did 5 minutes ago. Start to let yourself chew. I want you to chew on that a little bit more. I want you to start wondering, well, wait a second, damn. Maybe the reason why I don't have any money is because I have this belief. Okay, so now I want you to imagine for a second, I want you to imagine that you do have money. I want you to imagine that you do make money, okay? How can you be proactive to make sure that someone else doesn't take it? What would you do to protect it? How would you be proactive? What would you learn? Maybe you would take financial management courses. You know, maybe you hire a manager that says, hey, no one's allowed to ask you for free handouts. What would you do to make that not true? Okay, so now I want you to give me a quick chat. I want you to tell me how that shifted. Or anybody else. I want anybody else to tell me, does that feel a little bit different now? Okay? Does that feel a little bit different? Really? Really? Okay, and then somebody else says their beliefs about making money absolutely are beliefs about making money. Okay, so I can replace someone with something, like an unexpected event or an unexpected bill. Okay, okay. So maybe it's not even necessarily that somebody takes it, but as soon as you have $500, your brakes go out and you cost $500, right? Right? Doesn't it feel silly? Yay! We shifted it. How long have you believed that, my friend? How long have you believed that? Right? How long have you believed that? Your whole freaking life? Maybe that's why you didn't make money, is because you thought somebody was going to take it. Oh, yes. Success. Success. Hold on one second. Okay, I can replace someone with something, like an unexpected event or an unexpected bill. I just did an entire video about raising our roof, the ceiling of our income. And that's an important thing, because that's not so much in the belief family as it is our comfort level. Because the easy answer is, we'll just make more money. Just make more money. I mean, if you only have $500 and a $500 bill comes up, you're screwed. But, if you make $500,000 and a $500 bill comes up, it's not that big of a deal. So the real thing is, it's time to raise those ceilings. It's time to figure out, what is it in me that keeps me from making more money? Because there's tons of people in that situation where, as soon as you have a little bit extra, something else happens. Well, okay, so how do we avoid that? Don't have a little bit extra. Let's manifest more wealth. So I'm gonna rant on the money thing here for a little bit, because there's a lot of us that are specifically on this channel because we want more income. You want more income. And I want you to know that 12 years ago, I was penniless and homeless, pretty much. I had like this beat up old $1,500 car that I was pretty much sleeping out of. And everything that I have now, I created through the power of my beliefs, mainly. There's other behaviors, identity levels. And you know what? If you're serious about this, I have my manifesting course. It's discounted right now because I'm still recording the meditations, which are kind of like the bonuses. But the manifesting course that I have is intense. It's some of the most intense work that I've got. So, hold on. I have a guest here. Woohoo! Somebody's coming live. Hold on. Hello.
Hi,
How are you, honey?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate this.
You're welcome. So, what beliefs are you struggling with? What's something that you're struggling with right now? Give me a belief.
Okay, I'm currently studying for this very important exam, my bar exam, and I have
Okay.
taken it several times. And I've just been struggling with this belief that I am not smart enough to achieve the goals that I set for myself.
Okay. I am not smart enough to, what did you say? I'm not smart enough to achieve the goals I've set for myself?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So here's what I want you to do, honey. I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to really think about everything that I've said tonight. How your brain has cherry picked the information to prove that right. How much of our programming came from childhood, for maybe things that our parents said, or maybe when we were in grade school. And I want you to think about how long have you thought that? So tell me, how long have you felt like that?
Um, Thinking about it, probably a while. Probably a couple of years now.
Okay. 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 So you didn't believe that as a kid?
No.
Okay. What happened that made you believe that? Why suddenly, after your whole life had gone by, why did you suddenly, honey, start thinking that you weren't smart enough to achieve the goals that you set for yourself? What happened?
Um, I I failed.
You failed? Okay.
I failed. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so it was the first time that you failed the test? That's what made you think, oh shit, I'm not smart enough to do this.
No, no, it was like during school, during different things, like where I saw other people progressing and I was stagnant or I failed or I couldn't complete something like within my career and in my academic life as well.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest that maybe the belief goes a little bit deeper than this. That maybe it's not just, I'm not smart enough to pass this test, or I'm not smart enough to achieve the goals that I've set for myself. I'm going to suggest that it's probably something more along the lines of other people are smarter than me.
Ooh.
It's hard for me to learn. I don't remember things. I struggle at education. I struggled in school. What's the belief about yourself and your abilities that you've had the longest, honey?
I would say out of what you said, like just others are smarter than me.
Oh, baby.
Others others are smarter than me.
Okay, honey. How long have you believed that?
And I think this is what you were talking about. This is the belief that goes back to childhood.
Exactly. Exactly. So, just as a little bit of an explanation, we will have this simple belief like other people are smarter than me. And then you go through life collecting proof. See, I didn't do so good in this school. See, I didn't go so good in this school. Now you're in law school. And guess what? Your brain is picking 40,000 bits of information to say, see, that person's smarter than me. See, that person's smarter than me. See, that person's smarter than me. Honey, what about the 10,960,000 bits of information that proved you were smarter, honey? So I want you to soften yourself. I want you to lower that defense because, other people are smarter than me. That is a very hypnotic phrase. That is a very brainwashing phrase. Other people. Other people. Like the whole universe? Like everybody? Like a 2-year-old? Come on. Other people? Who specifically? There might be a couple people that are smarter than you. That's true. But it's not, so? Other people are allowed to be smarter than you. What does that say about you? Huh? Oh, honey, that doesn't say anything about you. That doesn't say anything about you. Oh, just because Joe Blow over there has a higher IQ, what does that say? Honey, that doesn't mean anything about you. I want you to think about that for a second. Now, I want you to think about when you were a kid. You were a little girl, and you're thinking, oh, other people are smarter than me. Who were you hearing that from? What proof was your brain collecting? Honey, of everyone was smarter than you when you were a kid. You didn't even know the alphabet, for crying out loud. Of course other people were smarter than you, right? Is it okay to think that as a little kid? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hello. You don't know what 5 times 5 is. You're a kid. Of course you believed that as a little kid, but honey, you're not a little kid. You're in law school, honey. You got there. Excuse me. So now I want you to think about the proof. What's the proof that you're smart, honey? Well, the first thing I would say is that you're in law school. You are smart enough to read a book. Clearly, you're ready to take the bar, so clearly you passed some tests, right?
Right.
You know what? And you're also smart enough to recognize that this belief is screwing your life. That is right there smarter than 99% of the other people out there. So now I want you to start realizing, wait a second, whoa, shit, whoa, what? You're smart, aren't you?
Yes.
That's my girl. Now I want you to mean it. Now I want you to mean it. Say it and mean it.
I'm smart.
Nope, that's a question, honey. Come on.
I am smart.
Yeah, that's better. Now I want you to say it like this. I am smart. Damn it. I got this far. Nobody handed this to me. Nobody put the answers in my head. I did this. I got here. I want you to say it like that.
Okay. I'm a kind of quiet person.
Oh, this is your life, honey. This is restructuring your life, sweetheart. You need to mean it.
Yeah. I'm smart. I am smart.
I got here
I got here
all by myself.
all by myself.
All by myself.
All by myself.
That's my girl. Come on. Who gave you those answers to get where you are?
Nobody.
That's my nobody. Say it, honey.
Nobody.
That's right. You did that.
I
Say
did
it.
that. I did that.
Yes.
I did
You
that.
did that. You got here, honey. You have all of that in your mind. Everything that you know is there. Why did your brain not sort for it? Because, oh my God, honey, because you thought other people were smarter than you. And then your brain just proved you right. What if you're just as smart as anybody else, honey? That's my girl.
I'm
That's my
sorry.
girl. No, baby, I want you to cry. I love making people cry because this is when we have shifts. This is when it hits home. This is where we have to access these emotions. So you cry, honey, because you know what? You just discovered for the first time that you're just as fucking smart as anybody else. That's my girl.
Thank you so much.
I love you, honey. You got this. You got this. Oh, sweetheart. I'm kind of sorry I made you cry, but only sorry, only a little. You got this, sweetheart. You got this, honey. All right, this girl needs a huge applause. Take a minute. Take a minute and process that because that was big. Shh. Stop. My people, this is the power of NLP. This is the power of coaching. This is what I've been doing for 20 years, and this is what saved my life. When I lost everything, guys, I didn't even want to live anymore. Why? I don't know what I'm living for. But I knew these tools would change my life if I forced myself through the work. If I forced myself to cry the way that she did. If I forced myself to look at those beliefs and go, no, 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 I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. If I believe this, I'm screwed. You know? I didn't go to school. Do you know how easily that could have crushed my life? Yeah. Yeah, I could have. I couldn't let that crush my life. I had to choose to go, okay, all right, let me go through the history books. Oh my gosh, let me go through the history books. Who didn't go to school that isn't a total loser? Because I knew that believing that was not going to help me, that I needed more than that. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys, this is the power of the coaching that we're doing here. And I can't coach the world. I wish I could. I wish I could, but there are millions of people out here. You know, like I said, I've had 2,000 new subscribers in the last couple of weeks. And I want to help all of you, and I can't get to everybody. So I created the course. I created the architecture of your reality. And it is my best work. It's 25 lessons. I've got videos on there. I've got worksheets for every single lesson. It's going over not just an inventory of what are your beliefs, but what are the blocks that you have? What is your identity? What is the future that you're actually wanting to create? And I've got it discounted right now because it's not quite finished. I'm still uploading the meditations. But guys, you can do this. I do not care what belief is in your head. I can shift it. You can shift it. You just need to know how, okay? This was good. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is what I love doing. This is what I love. I love helping you guys. So be better prepared next week with questions. Even if it's not on topic, I don't even really care. Whatever question you're struggling with, we will do something to shift it, okay? So this, I'm gonna chalk up as a success. And I will be back next Thursday, same time. Be prepared. I love you guys. All right, talk to you guys soon.